And welcome to the Writer's Life, the place where you get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, where you get the truth about the writer's life. That sounded weird. Um, Subscribe, punch the like button, tap the bell for all those notifications so you don't miss out on one single exciting video. Go to vinzandri.com, vinzandri.com, to grab all the thrillers you need for Christmas. A lot of brand new ones. There's an article in the Big Thrill today about American Crime Story 2 and the whole series in particular. Not a big article, just a but a little interview. But that was cool. That's cool. So we have all four are published now, and soon, in a few weeks, the big collection will be published. So anyway, we got a lot of books coming out, and it'd be great. Pick up some paper for Christmas. Give them as Christmas gifts. All right, you getting sick of me shelling right now? All right. So I fucked up this morning. That particular curse is going to be big in this one, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I looked at the weather, and much to my disappointment, now like I put off Italy to ski, right? Because they said it was going to be fantastic season, and even friends of mine have been emailing me like, "Oh, Ben, I hear the skiing's supposed to be great this year in New York, right?" So far, it's great up in Vermont, and we're just getting shit down here. In fact, it's raining right now, and so I'm gonna be pissed if it's gonna be another one of those years where like you only get moisture if it's warm out, which is like a jet stream thing. So anyway, but anyway, I read where like it was just gonna rain for 3 straight days, even Monday, which tells me that it's pretty much gonna wash out any existing snow that's there and all that. So anyway, make a long story short, I got all my stuff out, and then I was gonna get up at 5 and go up for 3 hours this morning, change my plans. So I woke up this morning at 4:30, and I'm like, oh, I could get up right now and go. But I was like, I'll sleep for another half hour. Boom, 8 o'clock. I was like, completely ruined it. I mean, technically I could have gone, but by then I want to get into my writing. So anyway, I snoozed and I loosed. I'm a poet, and I know it. All right, I know that weirds people out that I'm using that because people can't take eye drops. I can. Ooh, that feels better. So anyway, I just wanted to comment on Elon Musk, whom I really admire. I'm not even sure he's from this planet. I know he's from South Africa, but they're like, well, we'll just tell people he's from South Africa. He's just such an incredible genius, isn't he? And now, like, because he took over Twitter and is promoting free speech, which is in our Constitution, even though they won't tell you that, and which scares a certain party to death because they don't want you to know the truth. They're coming after him. They think he's alt-right and all this sort of stuff, and nothing could be further from the truth. He's definitely just a down the middle, practical engineer guy who, like we ought to be able to, we would be living in a very dangerous world without free speech. Okay, so anyway, now they're trying to nail him with like, oh, well, you made anti-Semitic comments, which I read his tweets and I didn't find them anti-Semitic at all. And I have a Jewish daughter, so if anybody's going to be upset about that type of thing, it would be me. But I knew what he meant, Anyway, you have to go see the tweet. I'm not going to get into that, but so he was just recently at this panel. I assume it was in New York because the New York Times sponsors it every year, book deal or whatever they call it. And these pretentious journalists moderate it or whatever. And anyway, so this one guy, Andrew Ross Sorkin, I think his name is, was interviewing Elon, and he's just like, the advertisers are pulling out, like, you're screwed, dude. Elon is worth $300 billion. And he's like, I hope they do. I probably don't have to tell you all this. You've probably seen it. He's like, but I hope they do. And you know what? Fuck you. Or no, he said, go fuck yourself. Um, and the guy's story was like, you don't say that to all these woke people who are billionaires and give you money and expect you to toe the line. You just don't say that. And he's like, he said it again. Go fuck yourself. I don't want your money. And then he's like, Bob Iger, if you're in the audience, hi Bob. Now that's power. That's power. That's and then, but that wasn't even really the main. There wasn't the the pickle of his just calling out these people's hypocrisy and their evilness. Actually, some of them. And he just said, you know what? There are so many people. Some of you are right here in the audience. You love to look great and you love to say the right things, but behind the scenes, you're doing evil, and you know who you are. A lot of them are politicians, right? That was great. That was a very powerful moment. Okay, so where's this going? In my small little world, that's world. This is world. In my small little world, I couldn't help but be reminded about the power, the power situation of publishing and traditional publishing, and how, and I've spoken about this many times, how there was a time where I was just like a slave to them, an absolute slave, really all the way up through like 2018 or so, where you would have sleepless nights and like, are they going to take my next book? Are they going to push my book? Are they going to, am I going to be able to pay the rent? Am I going to be able to do this? Do I have to get a job? You were just so powerless as a writer. You're at the bottom tier of the totem pole. And they would I know this isn't US money, but they would just dangle the dollars in front of you, and they'd be like, if you do write the right manuscript, in the right genre, in the right niche, at the right time, we'll give you some of this, and it was just, and you needed that money, just to survive, probably by the time you got it in the form of an advance, you were so in the hole that you had to throw it all on the credit card, and then you'd still be broke, and that's how you lived. That's how you lived. Writers lived like that for years, and occasionally someone would break out big time, but all too often they would just disappear. I can remember when I signed with a very big publisher, not the first one, but this is in the mid, this is like 2012 or so. And I got a very, very good deal and whatever. And they were just like, licking my boots, right? And I'm like, by this time, I like knew the ropes, and I'm like, this isn't gonna last, And then they were going. It was like every 6 months they were going through all sorts of staff changes and whatever, and in it was 2013 during BoucherCon. BoucherCon happened to occur in Albany. And my books were moving, but modestly. And I think they were like, well, Vin's out. He's out. We're not going to offer him any more deals. Now I had helped set up, the restaurant and all this sort of stuff with them. And my the new acquiring editor was taking a bunch of authors out for a personal dinner, and he was asking me where to take them. A dinner I wasn't included in, right? So I was like, wow, you're an asshole. And but I helped him, and then they even had a signing. Now here's a sign. It's a signing in my hometown, right? They didn't include me. Like, okay. And my PR person at the time, right? She's now an editor. I don't know how that happens, but anyway, my PR person at the time was kind of like cold and like distant and like, fuck you, man. You have no power over me. You're just a writer. This is the same person who would later come out and say like she was sexually abused at a conference, but later on you would find out that she was cheating on her husband. Okay. Anyway, no name shall be mentioned here. But anyway, I no longer have relationships with any of these people, so I don't give a shit. But anyway, they're pulling all this crap on me, right? And little do they know, they don't even know that my novel, The Remains, is fucking selling like hotcakes. Like, just by the time, like, I think in September that year, in 2013, by the time the conference came along, like maybe it was like first weekend, or it had to be like the second weekend of September, I believe. By then, it had sold like 24,000 copies just for the month. So do the math. So in 14 days, you know. Anyway, and I remember, you know, like on the second day of like the conference, I went in and I was just like, you know, they were all kind of, you know, like she was there again, and the choir guy was there, and they were just kind of talking down at me. And I was like, oh yeah, by the way, The Remains is killing it, huh? 24,000 sales so far this month. And they were like, how come no one told us? It was just like that. The whole room went silent. By the end of that month, I had sold more books than the whole publishing house combined. And they were like, back to licking the boots again. You know, like, oh, you want a new deal? Good, we're gonna get you a new deal. Give you another 20,000, or no, give you another $30,000, and we'll put you in the first thing, and here's a plaque to commemorate the first 100,000 sales of The Remains, and it would eventually go to on overall #1 spot. You know, and they're sending me pictures like #1. Does this make them bad people? No, not at all. But it just shows you where they're at, where their mind's at. You're not a human being. You're just a fucking number on a spreadsheet. That's it. And so I knew then, yeah, I'll take your money. I'll take your advances and stuff like that. But I knew then I had better set up my own independent label and become a hybrid author and start publishing independently, because these people will stab you in the back at the first chance they get. The second you fall out of line, they will fucking stab you in the back. Like, and that's why I'm pushing this independent media thing so much, because you can't rely on these people at all. And the second you do, the second you're toast. It's just the way the business is. It's a harsh business, and I choose to go my own way, you know, and do what I want to do. And I piss off a lot of people doing it, because they're like, "You're not playing by the rules." Well, and thank you, Elon, for, you know, prompting this. Thank you, Tucker Carlson. He says the same thing. Thank you, Joe Rogan. Thank you, all the people who have gone their own way and thrived. Because these people are your friend one day, and then the next, they don't want to know you. But they always sort of find a way to like slither under a new rock. You know, they always, you know, that's the way they are. Not saying there's not really good people in the business. I'm not saying that at all. There's some really terrific people who have helped me and still help me. I'm not saying there isn't good publishers. For instance, I can bring these people up. Down and Out Books, for instance. You know, the poor guy who owns Down and Out Books. Sometimes I think he ought to like qualify it as a charity. He has terrific authors, some very notable authors, including this guy. And I would imagine you know, he's in the black every quarter or whatever it is. But he loves books and he loves great writing, and so he's willing to take a hit, you know, and he's a good person, you know. So, you know, complete antithesis of the big major publishers that I'm talking about. They publish just for the love of it. and for the love of good writing, and for the love of great authors. So kudos to them. Unfortunately, I can't afford to publish like that all the time because I lose money on it. But I'm happy to give them a book or two every year because they make beautiful books. They create beautiful books. And it's just fun. And you're still like sort of in the more the public or whatever, because independent books, you're not going to get them reviewed as much or whatever. So like I really don't care at this point. But anyway, be your own person. Do not depend upon any one publisher, any one method of publishing other than your own independent label, because you will just have many sleepless nights. You will find that you have no friends. You will find that no one really gives a shit about you. I hate to say it that way, especially for people who are just starting out and who they really want that validation of the major deal. And you might get it, but be careful when you do. Could be the worst thing that ever happened to you in your life. All right, I hope everybody has a great weekend. And if I don't talk to you tomorrow, I'll talk to you on Sunday. Oh, I should probably check the chat quick. All right, everybody's out doing something. And chat.